The reason I want to get an amplifier is to create some of my own presets. I basically rarely bother with factory presets on any unit that I use. I want to dive in and create my own sound suited to my own style. So what I need for a live gig with Ragdoll is essentially a chunky high gain sound with some rhythmic delay and like a solo boost, basically. It's a pretty simple rig. So I want to dive into the editor. Atomic actually provide you with a USB cable, which is super handy. So you got like no excuse for not using the editor, in my opinion anyway, rather than fiddling around with a really small LCD screen and a couple of buttons. You can obviously still use the amp knob controls if you like, but I'm coming from a Fractal AX8, which is my main live rig, and I use my own IR in that one, and I basically just want to have the Atomic as a backup in case anything goes down with the AX8. Nothing's gone down with it at any point, which has been really, really cool. It's been a super reliable piece of gear, but you can never be too prepared. At the moment, my backup is a tiny Mua micro preamp, and I want something that is a little bit more substantial than that. And especially, you know, if my rig goes missing or gets stolen or something like that, I can keep the amplifier in my guitar case, and I know I've like worst case scenario got something which hopefully will sound pretty good. So let's see how good we can make it for what I need to do. As you can see here in the cab section, the first thing that I'm going to do is load up a cab. I'll go to one of the user cabs, and this is an IR that I made of my main recording cab. I've shared this one in a video a couple months back, so you can go and get this one if you like. And then for the amp, what I'm going to do is I played around with this a little bit the other day, and I really like the 5150 model in this. So I'm going to go 5150 stock settings with this IR. The first thing that I would do for live use is set the roll off to about 6.5K. So I'll set it there, and then we're going to go through and tweak it and refine it. So this is the stock settings on the 5150. This is my PRS SC245. Sounds like this. Okay, that's good. That immediately sounds pretty chunky. I can definitely work with that. One thing that I would like to be able to do in the cab block that I can't is to roll off the low end in a sort of similar way. So we can't do that, but what we can do is use the parametric EQ, one of these one band blocks. I'm going to set it to be a high pass, and I'm going to turn the frequency down, and I'll dial it in at about 100 hertz. So 0.1 kilohertz there. This is what that sounds like if I engage it. It's just going to tidy up the boomy low end. That's really good. I might turn the gain down a little bit on the amp, and then basically I'm just going to fiddle around with the knobs for a couple of seconds and hopefully dial it in. I reckon a little bit more mid-range, and I just want to deal with that sizzle in the top end a little bit. The low end feels pretty good though. That feels pretty good. It is a little bit sizzly though, so what we can do, we can come back to that in a second. One thing that I would do with any high gain amp in the real world is add a front end boost with something like a super overdrive or a tube screamer. So we can use the boost block there. I'm just going to use the tube screamer with the drive on 0. I'll turn the level all the way up, and I'll turn the tone up. This is what that guy does. Oh, I really like the way that feels. That's pretty cool. So a few cuts that I would normally make to the cab block, I'll use the parametric EQ for. We'll set this to peaking, and I'm just going to use a really high Q, and I'll turn the level down a little bit. I know about 3.3K for this particular IR normally gets a little bit harsh. So if I kick that one in, and about 5.5 as well. That feels pretty good. I mean, that sounds like a high gain amp through the cabinet IR that I'm used to using. And just using the parametric EQ there to basically kind of pull out some harsh frequencies. I do have some other videos if you watch my Axe Effects videos, basically I kind of explain this whole process, but it's a little bit limited. I would prefer just like a single, like 5-band parametric or something like that. But I guess they've just broken it down into a couple of different blocks. I'd have no need to turn these on or off, so I'm not going to assign them to any foot switches. What I will use for a solo boost though is a graphic EQ block, and I would basically probably push 1.2K and 2.6K a little bit. I'd probably leave the other ones alone and turn the overall level up to about 2 dB. This should give me a nice mid-range focus solo boost. And then another thing that I would do is add a reverb block. I'm basically just going to use a room sound, say medium room, and I will bring the overall level down. I'll turn the decay down quite a bit. This is just to take the sort of directness out of the IR and add a bit of room sound. I'll turn the pre-delay down too. So you get this. It's just adding a tiny little bit of space, and that's really handy if I was using this live and I was using in-ears. That would be really nice. Okay, let's get a delay sound happening. All of these blocks kind of by default sit where I like them, which is kind of cool. I haven't had to use the pre-post thing or anything like that. So for delay, what I normally like, let's just go with the digital delay. Immediately, the first thing I do with delays is turn the high cut right down. So I'll turn that down to about 3K. And what I would like is a quarter note and a dotted eighth note delay together. So let's go for a dotted eighth there. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like. All I would do there is turn the level up a little bit, and I'll actually go a little bit more extreme with that high cut. I'll bring it down a bit more. I can live without the quarter note in there. If I was playing in stereo, I would probably add a quarter note delay in there as well, just to get that kind of dotted eighth plus quarter kind of thing. But that sounds really good. There's up to 4 delay lines here as well. So if you want to do like panning delays or, the famous Steve Lukather circular delay kind of thing, that's pretty cool. I might add a little bit of diffusion in there, which is kind of handy, and a little bit of flutter just to give it some character, I guess. And that's about all I need. Otherwise, I guess a wah maybe, and we can use the input gate as well, because you can hear a little bit of hiss in there, so... Yeah, that sounds really good. I could easily gig with that kind of sound. I'm pretty happy with that. You notice when I was tweaking the amp as well that for these high gain amps, I find if you turn the master volume down a little bit and compensate with the level, that really helps. And then smashing the front end with a tube screamer means I can basically turn the bass on the amp up a little bit. Again, this is like pull bass out in the front end and boost it after the gain. That's kind of the classic modern high gain kind of sound. Using this cab IR is just, like I said, it's really comfortable for me. So I sort of know how to work with that one and bringing the roll off down. Like I said, being able to have like a low cut in the cab block would be handier than having to use a parametric block, and having like a 5-band parametric all in one block might be a little bit handier. But in terms of working within that, I mean, I might use a phaser or something like that. Let's just, while we're here, I'll go with a 4-stage phaser. I would probably have the depth turned down a little bit and the speed just around sort of like 1 hertz or maybe 0.9. Let me click on that. So this is what that sounds like. And turning the depth down to about 22% there. Otherwise, it kind of gets too wobbly and watery. So the phaser, I reckon what I will do is go to the foot switches. And in this preset, I've got foot switch number 5 is preset assignable. So I will go down here and set that to be the phaser. And then as like a master setting, foot switch 4 is always a boost. Foot switch 6 is always the echo. And I'm going to save this preset. I'll save it as LT Live. There we go. Let's save that one. And that will save. And then I have the top 3 foot switches assignable where I can turn this on and off. And then I'm actually going to assign the preset to one of the preset switches. So once this guy saves in there, I can go and do that. If we go foot switches, let's see, preset A, where am I? What is this? 113. So let's go for, I think this is offset by 1 as well. If I set that to 112, I should be able to go. Yeah, there we go, LT Live, that's pretty cool. And then I can turn the boost on. You can't see the amplifier, but it's down here. So no boost, no echo, no, what did I assign to the middle button? Phaser? And then delay. So there you go. I think the amps in the amplifier sound really, really good. There's a couple of functions that I do miss from the AX8, but like I said, I've basically got this. I know I can chuck this in my guitar bag, and I've got a great live sound that I can use as a backup, or if I want to use it as my main sound, if I want to change it up as well, because I really, really like that. There's a few things which are a little bit idiosyncratic. Like I said, if you're coming from like a blocks-based thing, you can't just sort of grab blocks and move them around like I'm used to. So that was a little bit of an adjustment, but that is how I would actually go about using this to create a heavy distorted sound. Let's do the same thing really quickly and come up with like a clean funk kind of sound with the Strat. Okay, here we are. I've got a blank preset. Again, let's dive straight into it. I'm going to select the same cab IR just because it's nice to have that kind of consistency for live. V30s do sound nice for clean tones. I'll set the roll off to about 6.5. Again, they're my go-tos for live sound. So let's grab a clean amp. Let's start, say, with the Deluxe. I think sounds pretty good. This is what it sounds like at the stock settings on the neck pickup of my Strat. So that is going to need a little bit of work. A real Fender Deluxe doesn't have a master volume, so I'm going to set the master to 10. This is what that sounds like. And I guess the classic starting point for Fenders is the Magic 6 settings, bass at around 2, mids at around 3, and treble at around 6. Let's have a listen to how that sounds. That's cool. That's, it sounds Fendery. All I would do is turn the gain up to start to get a little bit of grit. I might turn the level down a little bit to compensate, just to get it at a similar volume as my high gain patch. Cool. What I would like in there immediately is sort of like a reverb, just to, again, give it maybe a little bit more than we were using before. So I'll go with the medium verb, and I will go for a little bit more decay. Sounds like this at stock settings. Way too much. Let's turn that down a little bit. And bring the pre-delay down a bit. Maybe a bit more level. And maybe I'll try a different reverb. Maybe I'll try a plate. That's nice. That's what I want. Cool. What I need now is compression. You can see the compressor is automatically routed to be pre. So let's go with a pedal compressor. Sounds like this at the stock settings. That's about right to me. You can hear there that you need to play around with the makeup gain and the level a little bit to sort of get it dialed in. That is making the low end super woofy though, so I want to pull out some low end in post and before the gain as well. So with this, I'll do the same trick I did with the high gain sound. We'll go for high pass 2, and we'll set the high pass, again, let's try 0.12, a little bit higher this time. That is not too shabby at all. And then what we'll use is some pre-EQ, and I'm just going to set, I'm going to turn it on, and I'm just going to use the low cut control there, and we'll set that to about 120 as well. You can hear it's kind of taking the like whomp out of the low strings there. What I would like to have with this sound is some slapback echo. So let's go for like a tape. Yeah, tape echo, that should do. And I'll turn the high cut down a lot on this one, and we'll set it for, let's go for a timed one. So we'll go for a 16th note. And maybe I'll move the echo in front of the amp, so I can do that by selecting, where's echo on this thing? Right there, we'll put it pre. That's cool. That's pretty cool, a little bit of slapback in front of the amp, and then I would probably add a phaser as well and go for, let's start with the depth at 50, and I'll just go for something a little bit swirlier. So let's try these settings. Way too much. That's pretty cool where it is. I might go back and tweak the depth a little bit. And then finally, I want a solo boost. So I'm going to use let's actually try a fuzz for this kind of thing, just for something fun. So I'll start with the drive down and bring it up slowly. I'll play on the neck pickup. I think I changed my mind. Fuzz is not what I'm going for. Let's try the overdrive. This is apparently based on a Boss SD1. I'm actually pretty happy with that for kind of just a straight up Fendery clean sound. As well, if you were using external pedals, this would be like a great pedal platform. You can chuck some pedals in the loop or you can just put them in front of the amplifier, which might be really handy if you're using this as a direct rig. Like I said, I just need a backup for my AX8, and that's kind of ballpark for what I need. It's not perfect, and there's a couple of other things I wish I could add, but like I said, for what I need it to do, this is actually pretty impressive. So that is how I would go about creating presets for specific gigs that I need to do and tailoring it to different guitars.